Alright, this is going to be for you movie buffs out there to guess where this is. Behind me is the main setting of a very popular movie that came out in 1993. We are at 2640 Steiner Street, better known as the Mrs. Doubtfire house. So yeah, I just wanted to bring you to another site that is unique to San Francisco. Mrs. Doubtfire is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm sure many of you would agree. Couple quick fun facts. I did bump into Robin Williams when I was younger at a grocery store, and I used to always frequent his house during Halloween for trick-or-treating because he would always hand out glow sticks. So he had obviously the most popular house on the block. But yeah, obviously Robin Williams had his fair share of troubles over the years that ultimately ended the way it did, but just want to say rest in peace to the guy because he brought a lot of joy into this world. Alright, it's the first day of November. It's probably going to take me a little while to post this video, but do want to share an update. Lucky Chances has moved all of the Asian games indoors, so this entire outdoor portion now is for poker. In speaking with the main tournament director, Jimbo, he said there's still probably a ways from doing tournament poker just because of the restrictions on capacity, but at least it looks promising in terms of opening up more space for potentially getting that done sooner rather than later. But yeah, just want to give that update. And as usual, just waiting to hop into the 3-5 game and we'll share the hands from this session. Alright, just closing things out. This is probably going to be a bit of a short one. I unfortunately didn't fully charge my phone last night, and the outdoor tables don't have the plugins anymore to charge phones. So don't have too many hands, but I do have a couple of interesting ones that we'll dive into. In this first one, cutoff raises to $25. I call from the big blind with pocket threes, and we go heads up to a flop of 10-6 deuce rainbow. Action checks through. The turn comes a 6 of spades, which pairs the board and puts out a backdoor flush draw. I decide to fire out $35 for a bit of protection and value. He decides to make the call. We go to a river of an 8 of diamonds, and this time I check. He checks it back. I table my hand, and it's good. In this next hand, under the gun limps. I raise it to $25 from the low jack with pocket queens, and the under the gun makes the call. Heads up to a flop of ace jack 10 rainbow. Action checks through. The turn comes a 6. He checks. I bet $25, and he makes the call. River comes an 8, and when he checks it, I think it's pretty close between checking back and betting for a bit of thin value. I think he's split between two types of hands. He can have a jack, which would be my primary target, a hand like king jack or jack 9 that might call, or even a hand like 10-9 that may occasionally toss in the chips as well. But he can also have some ace rag type hands that if I bet and he calls, I'd of course be losing. So with all that in mind, I'm not exactly sure where I stand, so I just check it back. He tables king jack off suit, so that is one of the hands that I beat and potentially could have got some thin value, but happy to just take this one down. This next hand is perhaps the most interesting one of the session. I raise it to $20 from under the gun with 5-6 of hearts. A good young player in the hijack 3 bets to $60. I call, and we're playing roughly 1k deep. Heads up to a flop of jack 10-3 with 2 hearts, so I flop a flush draw and a backdoor straight draw. I check. He bets $75, and I make the call. The turn comes a 7 of spades, so I pick up additional equity. I check. He bets $105, and I'm playing a little bit over $800 back. I have to go for a check raise of $330, looking to rep hands such as 8-9, 10-10, jack-jack, and jack-10. And this sets up for roughly $500 for a river jam. And after he tanks for a while, he decides to make the call. The river comes a 7 of diamonds pairing the board, and this is a bit of a good card, bad card type situation. I can of course still rep 8-9, 10-10, and jack-jack, but a hand like jack-10 is going to want to check here since I could have gotten counterfeited. I would also like to have a hand like 7x suited to jam here as well. When he continues against my aggression on the turn, my read on the situation is that he has a pretty showdown driven hand, and he also has the overpair range advantage. So I do think about it for a little bit, but after that river peels off, I unfortunately get castrated and lose the balls to follow through with a river jam. So I check, he checks it back, and he tables king 10 of diamonds for the winner. So although he calls me lighter than expected, I can appreciate what I think his thought process was. With king 10, he obviously blocks pocket 10s. He has the overpair range advantage as mentioned. He unblocks hearts, and I think he's also giving me credit for being balanced enough to have not just value in this spot, but also bluff. So definitely a good play on his part. I did later ask him if I had jammed river. He said he would have snapped me. I don't know if I fully believe that, but if that's the case, I gotta find a way to get more respect from these young GTO wizards. In this next hand, there's a low jack limp. I raise it to $25 from the hijack with pocket sixes, and I get calls from the big blind and low jack. We go three ways to a flop of king three deuce with two spades. When it checks to me, I fire out $50 to capitalize on my equity with just one over, and both players release their hands. In this next hand, the under the gun GTO wizard from the earlier hand raises to $20. Hijack calls. I'm on the button with king 10 of clubs, and we're all playing over 1k deep, so I think it's a good spot to squeeze. And I put in a 3-bet to $105. Under the gun thinks for a little while, folds, and hijack quickly releases his hand. So take this quick one down with a 3-bet pre. In this next one, I end up moving to a new table, and I don't even get the opportunity to set up my chips when I pick up pocket nines in a straddle pot. There are a few limpers to me, and I raise it to $60, and I get 4 callers. We go heavily multi-way to a flop that comes all deuces. So when it checks to me, it's a really good board to just try to take it down here. So I fire $175, and everyone folds. So a nice welcome to the new table. This next hand is also pretty interesting. It's 7-handed. I raise it to $20 from middle position with ace queen offsuit. Hijack puts in a smallish 3-bet to $55. Cutoff and big blind cold call. And when it gets back to me, my hand doesn't perform that well playing passively, particularly in a multi-way pot. And given all the dead money in there, I decide to put out a 4-bet to $265. Hijack and cutoff are both playing over 1k deep, but big blind is shallow with only just $120 back. The hijack 3-better is in the tank for a while before folding, so that's a good sign. Cutoff ends up following suit, and the best turn of events happens as big blind jams for $120. I should be fully ahead of his range here, so I show my hand, and we're off to a run out, which comes king queen 6, king 5, and my hand is good. Last interesting hand to note, and once again, it's going to be up against the young GTO wizard. I raise it to $20 from the low jack with pocket kings. Cutoff makes the call. Button puts in a 3-bet to $105. Gets back to me, and I decide to just flat, and cutoff gets out of the way. We're playing over 1500 deep here. And we go heads up to a flop of queen 10-6 all hearts, so I flop the overpair with the second nut flush draw. I check, he decides to check it back. Turn comes a 7 of clubs, and I fire out $100. He makes a call. We go to a river of a deuce of spades, so a clean run out. I opt to fire a larger bet for value, $280, looking to target most specifically hands such as ace queen, and I think it's going to have all the varieties here, both suited and offsuit. And occasionally I can get a call from stubborn pocket jacks that has a heart in it for a blocker. And he thinks about it for a little while and ultimately settles on a call. I table my hand expecting to rake in the pot, and unfortunately he shows me pocket aces with no heart. So it makes sense for him to check back that flop for pot control and ultimately get to this river. So another one goes to this young GTO wizard. So that's going to do it for the hands. I was stuck around $600 after the king's hand. Battled back a little bit, but wasn't able to get all the way unstuck. Ended up cashing out, what did I cash out? So I was in the game for $900. So I got in the game for $1,400 and I cashed out $1,093. So a little bit over a $300 loss. So yeah, never fun to book a loss, but I guess it's always a good thing to not lose my entire stack when I have kings versus aces. So I'll take that. And with that, I will see you all on the next one.